Hour number 3 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damien and John here with you for the final hour. Appreciate Dean Blandino in the last segment. Also Joe Lunardi early on talking about the NCAA tournament. Where does Auburn fall in the – I guess he hadn't given up hope. Joe Lunardi hadn't given up hope. Also A.J. Schultz, who covers Oklahoma, and also talking some NFL draft and just kind of expectations in the college football setting. Kind of going back to Cole's conversation there in towards the end of hour 1, going into hour 2, of just, the SEC as a whole. It's so unique going into this season in 2026 where it really does feel like the top half of the teams can really make an argument of, I could see this team in the SEC championship. I can see these two teams making their way into the college football playoff. But also, there was just so little separation in the middle of the pack, really and truly the past couple seasons. I think that the names are starting to flip because we can look at Arkansas. Arkansas, we have no idea what to expect. New head coach, new everything. Correct, yeah. For the Arkansas Razorbacks. I mean, you look at Auburn, again, same thing. Knew everything, top to bottom. You return DJ Durkin as your defensive coordinator, but all in all, it's just a new look program under Alex Golesh. Where does Alabama fall into the landscape of things? LSU is going to look different. Ole Miss is going to look different. It's just, this may be the 1 year going into it where we really just don't know. We can have a gut feeling, but it's almost a week to week. We got to see it play out.
Has the SEC become the Big 12?
Ooh.
Because as it stands right now, while I do think there are some teams at the top with Georgia and Texas, I do think it's 2, unlike Joel Klatt, who said there are 3 teams and then failed to mention the other one. But I do think while they are at the top, right now, I don't know if I'm ready to say that they're elite.
Right.
I think they're very, very good. I think there are too many questions, like we mentioned before, with basically every team. I feel like there are too many questions for nearly every team out there that I'm not ready to say that, like they are elite. It's weird because I probably would have one or both of them definitely in the top 10, maybe top 5, but I also know they can get got.
Yeah.
And so it just feels that the SEC might be what the Big 12 has become over the past few years, and that there's not one team that's definitely definitive. This is the elite team. This is the team that maybe Florida State in the 90s that we knew that, that's the one, your national title contender that, and then everyone else is just kind of not quite sure. It feels like everyone's kind of not quite sure.
Right.
But even someone as with the new coach and everything else, like with Auburn, not unlike Oklahoma, who was a playoff team last year, mentioned before, we could see them as maybe having 4, 5, 6 wins.
Yeah.
Or having 11 or 12 wins going into the playoff. Like the ceiling is insanely high and the floor is not that low, but I think the floor is lower for some other teams like Arkansas. I think they'll win a couple games.
Right.
I don't see them probably not making a bowl game, so their floor is lower. But a team like Oklahoma, I think their floor is probably like 7, 8 wins or so. Like that, they at worst they could end up in the Texas Bowl, something like that.
Yeah, there's just no clear separator at the top anymore. Because, you can go back to years past where it was, Alabama's going to, they play joyless murder ball. It was, teams are getting better, but they're still not catching up to what Alabama is. Now it's just, man, each week, each team has a comparable, I guess, chance to beat somebody. Like you look at Missouri, who for the past couple seasons, 9-10 wins, and they've been able to run the ball at an elite level. Even with subpar playing quarterback. Now you have Austin Simmons in the transfer portal who at moments flashed for Ole Miss, but there were also moments where he was turning the ball over. So do they find that consistency? And you still return Ahmad Hardy offensively, but now the defensive questions start to pop up at everything they're losing on their defensive front. I mean, for Georgia, you're losing – I think, and even in the NFL draft ranks of things, I think Zachariah Branch, I don't think people really understand just how impactful he was, because he gave Georgia that sort of, hey, we can throw a quick screen right here and he's liable to take it 60, 50, 60 yards at a moment's notice, but also be an elite route runner and being able to get open at such a I say a smaller stature from what you saw from the Cam Colemans of the world, who, I mean, even Perry Thompson, where you chisel them out, and it's like, that's what I want my receiver to look like. Nick Harbor at South Carolina. So I think when we look at the SEC from top to bottom, one, Texas A&M, I think they finally, quote unquote, lived up to expectations, but yet they just didn't finish the way I expected them
Correct,
to.
right. Yeah.
Where this was the one year where it's like, all right, they go up there, they beat Notre Dame. Marcel Reed has over 400 yards passing. It's okay. I never expected Texas A&M to look like this. But then you go and watch the Texas game in Miami. It's, man, how did they get to this point? Because it felt like they were riding high, and a lot of it can kind of play on who they played during the regular season. Like, you started to see some clear separation as far as who they were playing and the quality that they were playing. But now they got to play LSU. They got to play Alabama. They playing, of course, with Texas, like, they're playing the elites of the elites this coming up season in 2026. But now when you look at Tennessee, what are they going to look like? If Joey Aguilar is playing, does that put them to, 9-10 win range, 11 win range, or does it keep them at that 7-8 discussion? If he doesn't play, are they looking at 6-7-8 discussion? So it's South Carolina. Again, we know what Lenore Sellers is when he's playing at an elite level. Like, he is an absolute game changer. And you still have Dylan Stewart on the other side defensively. But I don't know what that supporting cast is going to look like, because they've played Alabama close the past 2 seasons when you're just like, hey, Shane Beamer just finds that one game where he can find, he can make everything work. Again, this team was up 27-3 against Texas A&M.
Yeah, they were. Uh-huh.
And the second half, it was, what did you do wrong? Like, what happened at halftime for y'all to, fumble the bag the way that you did? So it's Kentucky. Again, Kentucky is going to look completely different from what we've seen in the Mark Stoops era. Now with Will Stein coming from Oregon, Kentucky might mess around here and average 40 points a game on the offensive side of the ball, where they're not falling asleep and just trying to beat people up.
Which is why I go back to what I asked earlier, has the SEC become the Big 12? I think the only major difference right now is that the SEC has NFL talent in it. Has more NFL talent on the team. Like, yes, you're going to be players, and there's some very good players in the Big 12. I'm not saying that there's not. It's just, with the SEC, the major difference, especially in years past, is that a team like your South Carolina, your Arkansas, your Missouri, where in the past they would be somewhere between 6, at best 9, but probably 7 or 8 wins, they would still have someone being taken in the first round. They would have a defensive presence that would cause you headaches, to where, okay, we're going to beat this team, but there are going to be some major challenges with it. And even some time to time, some teams would stumble and actually lose. They would go and beat a Georgia and then find a way to lose to a Missouri.
Yep.
And that's, I think, part of the reason why we're kind of hesitant to be like, oh yeah, like, that's the team. Like, we know that, because we know that a good number of teams have a lot of question marks. And it goes back to while teams in the SEC still have NFL talent, they don't have nearly as much. Like, the depth isn't there. I remember Cole telling the story. I don't remember which bowl game it was, but Alabama, was playing, and then they had I think someone may either opted out or didn't play in the bowl game. All of a sudden, this guy that no one really heard of, Jonathan Allen, just kind of came out and just dominated. He's like, whoa, like, where's this guy been? Well, he was just waiting his turn. And now either players don't want to wait their turn or go find a bag somewhere else. And in years past, where a player like Jonathan Allen would be waiting or get a couple of snaps, and then this year would be the year like he would ascend, that's just not happening anymore. So with an Oklahoma defense, for example, that was fairly elite last year, we still probably expect them to be just as good this year, but you can't count on the whole team, because we saw bad material.
Right.
Like, when he was bad, he was fairly bad. And yes, he was injured at some times, but when he was good too. So we can't be like, okay, yes, I know it's a returning quarterback, and we've seen the good out of him, but I'm not ready to put them at top 10, because we also know we've seen Clemson fall off, Florida State fall off. We've seen teams that look like they had everything just fall off for whatever reason. So as much as we think Oklahoma probably should have similar success to what they did last year, they could fall off and all of a sudden Brent Venables is looking for a job because they went 3-9.
Yeah. And even going back to last season, you look at what Alabama was doing there in the regular season. Like, I understand a lot of frustrations, and there's a lot of question marks going into 2026 for Alabama, because we had never seen an Alabama team that just flat out could not run the football. And I think when you look at the identity of a lot of these teams, like I just kind of, when Cole was talking about Texas early on in the show and how Texas wasn't necessarily Sark offensively, he was able 2 years ago to kind of lean on that run game, where this past season he wasn't, and yet they still found ways to win some of the bigger matchups. But then you go down to the Swamp and lose to Florida. And I was kind of looking back of just, okay, where were teams at last season as far as rushing? Missouri led the league in rushing yards per game with 228. Of course, Ahmad Hardy, what he was able to do. Number 2 in the league in rushing was Arkansas.
Oh, by the way, yeah.
Again, the worst team in the SEC.
Yeah.
Didn't have any question marks offensively. Like, you got inconsistent play with Taylor Green at the quarterback, but
maybe all the more reason why they were second in rushing.
Yeah. It's okay. Well, they were still finding ways to get yards. So I just kind of look at the 2026 season. Again, we are months away from it kicking off, but there's just no team that I feel just 100% confident in. Like, everybody has a big enough question mark for me going into the season to say, yeah, I could see it, but also what if these things start to show? Like, I look at Gunnar Stockton at Georgia. I didn't know what to expect because we had seen Carson Beck for the past couple seasons, and they were good. They were elite. They playing for conference championships. I didn't know how big of a drop-off it was going to be, but you saw week to week that Gunnar Stockton, he was just a gamer. Like, it did not matter what situation Georgia was put in. You just felt that Gunnar would be able to overcome it. And again, they lost to Alabama early. What'd they do in the SEC championship? Absolutely obliterate them. And it's, okay, well, maybe this Georgia team could make a run. Then they ran across Ole Miss again, and it's, well, Gunnar Stockton did everything he possibly could. That was the first time that the defense kind of let you down. But then that gives you a conversation on Ole Miss where Trinidad Chambliss, who would have thought that the Ferris State quarterback was going to end up being where he was? So I just think that going into the 2026 season, man, where does the conversation start? That's right, kind of where it boils down to. Where does the conversation start of, yeah, I feel confident in this team, but also the cons outweighed some of the pros in certain situations. 205-834-9450. Your text message, your calls, always welcome here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Let's go to the phone line where B-Ham Dog wants to talk some elite teams in the SEC. Where we going, B-Ham Dog?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yeah, John alluded to a really good point about, nobody in the SEC is elite, and he's right. But I don't really think, and you just alluded on what reason I called, I don't think there's really anybody in the country that's elite. I mean, we look at – here's the problem. Joe Clack comes up with all his rankings on best coaches and best teams, and they never lay out – he's not the only one. They never lay out the criteria that how did you come up to this? And it go like, are you basing it off talent? Well, then we say, yeah, Ohio State's elite. Are you basing it off flash and plan what you did last year? Yeah, Indiana's elite. You base it off sustainability? Well, then you start looking at the teams like Georgia. And I'll probably take Alabama out of that list now, but you look at teams like Georgia that have sustained success over. So what is the criteria? Let me ask you guys two questions. And I love this conversation when people bring it up. Who's the best college quarterback? Because they were 1 and 2 coming out of high school. Tim Tebow and Matt Stafford. Who's the best college quarterback in your opinion? Just a quick answer.
Tim Tebow.
Couldn't even get Stafford anything.
Now, but who's the best quarterback?
That'd be Matthew Stafford.
You see what I'm saying?
There he is. You don't know how much that hurt Damian to say that.
No. Look, I'm a diehard Georgia vet, and there's nobody better to advocate this sport than Tim Tebow. I hated Tim Tebow. Hated him. I even use that word. But I love Tim Tebow, man. I really do. It's hard not to like that dude. And but when you start thinking about it, yeah, it's what's the criteria? Tim Tebow was a better college quarterback, mainly because he had Percy Harvin and the offense that was surrounding him.
Mm-hmm.
But Matt Stafford's a way better quarterback.
Yeah, he proved. Hey, he's still doing his thing in the NFL, reigning NFL MVP. So absolutely.
And maybe 6 years, I guess, because I assume he's playing this year for sure. And so in 6 years, when he is enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, just remember that.
Listen, man, I give credit where it's due. I just think people tend to forget the first 12, 13 years of his career. And they're like, oh, he was in Detroit. Well, you know who also is in Detroit now? Jared Goff.
Yeah.
And you know how many playoff games he has won for the Detroit Lions in less time than Matthew Stafford? A bunch.
How many?
Matthew Stafford had zero playoff wins.
How many Goff won?
3.
Oh, okay.
3. I'm just saying, man. Just saying. But no. I get his point, though. Because, again, when you look at just how this season.
I will say this, though, that, yes, talent does play a major part of it. But when we're talking about elite teams, I mean, football is a team sport. It's played as a team. And even though the individual players may be better on some of them, it's getting those players to play as a team, which is why last year, yeah, definitely, I don't think anyone would have said that Indiana, talent-wise, was elite.
Right.
But you saw on the field that team definitely was elite. They were one of one.
100%.
So I think when we're looking at or defining elite teams, it's looking at through the course of the season and what will happen in the postseason. Yes, because like right now, if we're looking at an elite team, I think it's probably Notre Dame and Ohio State. But also I think they're ranked insanely high because of the talent that's on there and the credit that both coaches have been given. Like, all right, we know that Marcus Freeman is a very good, if not a great coach. We know that Ryan Day has won a championship. Like, we know, okay, the monkey's off his back. We can expect him to probably not crap the bed. Okay, cool. Like, we're willing to give him that hype. We felt that way, or most people felt that way about Texas going into last year. And now, they got Arch. They got this defense. Like, yeah, they're going to be up there. So I think a good number of it right now is you're looking at the talent that's there, but also a bit of projecting too. And I think right now it's just really tough because even though a good number of teams have talent, we know that a good number of teams have much more questions.
Yeah. And you want to talk about, and again, we've had this discussion multiple times when it comes to, how you build your roster. Is it a collection of talent, or are you looking to build a team? Think of Auburn the past couple seasons. No question they've had talent. Not a single debate. But have they been a great football team? No. Like and that's why this season is so unique for Auburn. This is essentially copy and paste, at least in some key spots for Alex Golesh, what he had at South Florida. Now you couple that with the pieces that you already have at Auburn that I guess you can quote unquote say have developed, especially on the defensive side with DJ Durkin. You're getting some retention there. But now you're going into, the third straight season with a new quarterback. Not even just a quarterback. The whole quarterback room is completely different.
Major turnover.
Yeah, and you look at the receivers. Like, you're losing Perry Thompson, Cam Coleman, Eric Singleton. But you're bringing in guys that played at South Florida with Alex Golesh. So, and again, you look at the success that he had at South Florida, and you pair that up with what is there at Auburn, and also what he's bringing from South Florida and other various places in the transfer portal. I think this may, quote unquote, be a lesser collection of talent, but I think they have the potential of being a better football team. So we can continue on the other side. We see some text messages coming in, 205-834-9450. If there is an elite team in the SEC or a team that could potentially find themselves in the elite rankings, who would it be? We'll hear from you on the other side. Keep it locked right here on Jogs. 9:23 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damian Mitchell, John Saybear here with you. Kind of discussing what is quote unquote elite in the SEC. Who are the elite teams that we expect in 2026? And it's been kind of unique because John made the point that the SEC is now the Big 12. And I can't really push back on it because there's just no clear separation of there's one team and then everybody else. It's kind of just a collection of, I guess you'd say, teams that have a discussion of being elite. And again, that may look different where you can find yourself in an Ole Miss situation where, all right, cool, we didn't have to play in the SEC championship, and now we're one of four teams still vying for a national title and really and truly being one play away from potentially going in overtime or winning that ball game to play for a national championship in the midst of your head coach holding you hostage of, hey, I may be here, may not, but he ends up going to LSU. I just think 2026 is bound to be one of those exciting years. Just looking forward. Jamie Bailey tweets in, as you can as well, at Mac and Cube. He asked the question, who could be the Indiana or Vandy as far as coming out of nowhere and being really good?
Honestly, for most of the SEC, it could be most of the SEC because my initial thought is, I guess I don't want to say they're coming out of nowhere, but also then again, Indiana is really similar to it. Oklahoma's the one that came to mind because that defense was so good and so stout last year, and a good number of those players are back. And like Indiana the year before, they made the playoff, they lost. I don't want to say they didn't belong there, but like they were a top 10 team, like deserved to be in the playoff. Like, okay, I think they had the 2 losses, but the 2 good teams that they played, yeah, they ended up losing. But 10-2, yeah, you deserve to be in the playoff. I get that. That's fine. But when it came down to it, like they were just offensively challenged. But if maybe another year with Mateer, if he's not hurt and could play a little bit more consistently, that's a team that, even if it's just worth one more win, all of a sudden going from 10 to all of a sudden now it's 11-1 regular season.
Yeah.
I mean, with this SEC, I mean, looking back at last year, yeah, there are 16 teams, and of the top 7, like they were all ranked, and not only ranked in the top 15.
Yep.
So it probably was a good bit top heavy, and I think right after them, Tennessee was 8-5 last year. And Missouri, right after 8-5, both teams 4-4 in conference. I mean, you had some, and those felt like good middle of the pack teams. And while Texas, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt feel like maybe above average SEC teams, they were also probably in that second tier too. But Oklahoma made the playoff. Texas and Vanderbilt arguably maybe should have, or at least warranted consideration, not unlike South Carolina and Ole Miss last year. So honestly, that's probably a lot of the crux of the discussion, Jamie, is that a good number of these teams right now, they have the talent and we think the capability to not only make the playoffs, make a good run, but also if that team just doesn't gel together, a good number of these teams could just fall flat. Like you could see Tennessee bringing in, what's his face that was at Ohio State, Jim Knowles, bringing him in all of a sudden, like, oh, like if it's almost as if Tennessee was what Lane Kiffin used to be. Like, we'll just go out and score and defense be damned. That's fine. We'll just go out and score, and we can do that. But if Tennessee can find a defense and all of a sudden go from, not that they hadn't had it, honestly, in the last couple of years, it's been okay. But if they go from allowing 30-some-odd points a game to all of a sudden 25,
yeah,
like instead of allowing a touchdown, you make it a field goal, you do that twice a game, that 8-point swing could be more than enough. All of a sudden, Tennessee, especially if they get Aguilar back, could go from an 8-4, 8-5 team to all of a sudden, similar to what they were 2 years ago, a 10-win team, maybe even 11-win regular season with an SEC championship potential loss, and then who knows from there. So the margins are so thin, but all of these teams are honestly, I think, capable of reaching those highs.
Yeah, because I guess I'm kind of looking at, like, say Missouri, for example, would it necessarily be, quote unquote, out of nowhere that they could find themselves firmly in the college football playoff discussion? Because again, you go back a couple years ago, I mean, they rolled off back-to-back 10-plus win seasons, and they went 8-5 last year. Now, again, there were a couple games that could have gone either way. Like, you could look at the Alabama game, could have gone either way. They ended up losing that. Same with Vanderbilt. Texas A&M handled them, but those are 2 losses. If those go into wins, the Missouri's in that conversation. I think the one team how much do I kind of buy into what happened to them last year is South Carolina, where if Lenore Sellers, now with Kendall Browse as the offensive coordinator, if it were to work, I don't know if I'm ready to put them in college football playoff discussions, but they are definitely going to improve. And again, you still have Dylan Stewart and a couple pieces on the defensive side, but it's like you said, the margins are just so slim because I can see the game. I can vividly see South Carolina taking Texas A&M to the woodshed in the first half, and then the second half just throw up on themselves. I saw the Alabama matchup where literally Lenore Sellers fumbled the game away, where really and truly you had given Alabama everything and then some. Like, it was a straight up fist fight.
Yep.
So I just don't know what to really just put all my chips behind, because again, I look at Arkansas. Arkansas didn't win an SEC game last season, but you felt like every single game they were in. Like, again, they went 2-10 last season, but it wasn't like the offense wasn't scoring. They couldn't stop a single soul on the defensive side. What if they sure that up and they don't take necessarily a big step back offensively just because, you know, that maybe Bobby P and those guys just work something out offensively and it goes out and it's smooth sailing. Like, I just don't know what to expect anymore. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it to me, because then it makes for an interesting season week to week of, again, Auburn lost the football game 10-3 in 2026. They lost the game 10-3 to Kentucky. Kentucky, they didn't know what, and then Kentucky goes out there and get blown out by Tennessee a couple weeks later. Then they beat Florida, and it's, well, why does Mark Stoops do it? Like, how does he do this? So I just think that.
You remember the Arkansas was 2-10. People are going to forget that they lost by, it was 6 to Ole Miss. And yes, Ole Miss was in that game, but Arkansas, still kind of kept it close. Arkansas was up. They lost to Memphis, but I mean, they were up in that game. They kind of they threw up on themselves and kind of gave that game away. Yes, they are absolutely blown out by Notre Dame, but in back-to-back weeks, lost by a combined 6 points at Tennessee and then Texas A&M.
Right.
Like they were right there. Lost by 9 to Auburn.
So like, and then
1 point to LSU.
Like Mississippi State. Mississippi State took Tennessee to overtime.
Texas to overtime.
Right. Like they were in these ball games. They beat a team that came off of not a national championship, a college football playoff appearance in Arizona State. Like what separates this league, I think, is just, I mean, the collection of talent from top to bottom. Every roster's got it, but it's just those in between games. Like, not everybody has a Diego Pavia in Vanderbilt. Like 2 years removed from then knocking off the number 1 team in the nation in Alabama, and then they end up losing to Alabama, but still they beat the brakes off Tennessee to end that losing streak. So like I just think that the separation between all of these teams in the SEC, it can be like you could have a conversation with me about Florida. They went 4-8 last year. You tell me that Florida's going to be 8-4 this season, you could almost make me believe it, because again, John Summerall, I have that much faith of John Summerall. He can flip this thing around extremely quickly, and I wouldn't be opposed. You could tell me LSU could be in the national championship, and I would be like, you know what?
I could see it.
I could see it. You could tell me Texas A&M is not only going to beat Texas, they're going to be in the college football playoff championship. I could believe, because that means Marcel Reed has unlocked that potential it's there, because we saw it against Notre Dame where you're throwing for 400, but then you saw it against Texas where he has two interceptions where it's like there's no way you're still playing college football. Like there's such a wide range of things. Again, Alabama. If Alabama's able to run the football, and you tell me we get freshman year Ryan Williams, you can't tell me there's a defense that's not going to be shaking in their boots when they have to play Alabama.
He's an old man now. He's going to get married. So
right. Like, he got grown.
But that's what it takes. You got to be old.
Yeah, you got grown man issues now at 19. So I'm telling you, man, like it's just so. I think this season is going to be one of those that we look back at the end of the season of like, what just happened in the SEC? So we'll continue the conversation on the other side. 205-834-9450. Keep it locked right here on Mac and Cube. .937 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Damien and John here with you for a few more moments. Three-man front coming up at the top of the hour. Kind of do a little bit of a reset real quick. Auburn falls to Oklahoma on the road in college basketball, but according to Joe Lenardi, if you heard him here on Mac and Cube, their tournament hopes aren't done just yet.
I have Auburn 41st on the seed list right now. Just finished my overnight numbers, so that would make them an 11 seed, and actually the team just above the 4 slotted for Dayton and the first 4. So maybe not as damaging as some of the folks around Auburn thought.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
So right now, Joe Lunardi, despite Auburn losing to Oklahoma last night, he has them as, well, not the last 4 team in. He has them as the last team to get a bye. So the team just outside of Dayton. Okay. All right, well, you and I were on Morning Jocks. We said after the Kentucky win, it was like, all right, Auburn, like, you went and got this. You need to stop the bleeding. You did it. That's great. Here's the thing. I need you to keep going. Like, I know it felt like, oh, whew, we got that. Our work is done. No, you got one more after that. Now, the next 2 games and what should have been the Oklahoma game should have been fairly easy because at the time, the next 3 opponents that Auburn faced had a combined 8 wins in conference. So it should have been a fairly easier path, but
Should have.
typical Auburn, it can't have nice things, and followed up a very good Kentucky win with a dumb Oklahoma loss. But, however, according to Joe Lunardi, he still has them in. So now you really kind of can't afford anything. So now it's basically you are officially in the NCAA tournament right now because you lose and you're done. That being said, I think if they were to lose one of the next 2 but still beat Alabama, that might be like, all right, like, okay. Now, I don't think they can lose both of them and still beat Alabama.
Oh, no.
So, in essence, I think losing Alabama, that's understandable. It's probably going to happen. But I think right now, like, if you're Auburn, the mindset's got to be like, we're in the tournament right now. We cannot afford another loss. Therefore, we got to keep running the table. We've got to win these next 3, 4 or 5, however many they'll have in the SEC tournament. And then at that point, like, all right, so they've got to win the next 7, 8, not however many will be in a row to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, it's
and
tough.
I feel
sledding.
like that's asking too much.
It's tough sledding, man. It really is, and who knows? Who knows what to expect from here on out? But you do get a chance to get back on the winning side of things. You got Ole Miss at home on Saturday. 205-834-9450. Continue our conversation of just elite teams across the board. We were talking about Alabama. Jimmy texted in. He says, saying Ryan Williams has grown man issues is diabolical, knowing he's 5'6" and 152 pounds. I think you might have me and Ryan Williams confused, my brother.
Yeah.
I think he's about 6 feet.
Yeah, he's an actual 6 feet, not a dating profile 6 feet,
right?
But like 5'8", 5'9", right? Yeah.
Yeah, he is. He does have a slim build. I think he's a little bit bigger than 152. He's a little light, but again, he ain't had that grown man weight. He was coming in at 17 years old. He still had that. Right. Still has Similac on his breath, man. He ain't got that. He's
about
man.
To be married,
right.
And I think it would be absolutely hilarious to see it. But he's probably, if he's about to be married, I assume he'll have his own house. He's about to turn into the new homeowners from those Progressive commercials that turn into your parents. So we could see Ryan Williams on the Walk of Champions with the fanny pack, with maybe some black New Balance and white socks up to his halfway up his thigh.
Yeah, telling all those boys in the locker room, turn that music down. Like, hey man, y'all settle down over there, man. I ain't getting much sleep last night. I had to help with some homework. I had homework, and my my stepdaughter had homework. Man, I had to grind.
Eating dinner at 5.
Yeah. Hey, coach, this practice getting a little long, man. I gotta pick up so and so from daycare now.
Falling asleep in meetings because he's
No, it should be interesting to see. Let's go to the phone lines. Our buddy Blake in Huntsville wants to talk elite teams around the SEC. What's going on this morning, Blake?
Man, not a whole lot. Hope you guys are doing well.
Doing well, brother.
Yeah, to answer y'all's question, I think you just need to get your dartboard out and just start throwing darts at it.
Yeah.
Man, the landscape in college football is just so different now. I mean, all off-season talk now is just literally just flip a coin. I mean, and I'm not going to sit here and say talent doesn't matter, because it does, but, we all played sports. If, a team doesn't mesh, you can have all the talent in the world.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to matter. And it just, everybody's on these 1-year contracts. It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of buy-in. And look, I mean, talent's going to win some games just by getting off the bus. But then there's going to be those games where you're going to need a little bit more than talent. So that's why I think it's just a coin flip.
Yeah. Who's your who do you root for, Blake?
Auburn.
You're an Auburn fan.
Without telling them.
What's your I just want to get your gut feeling of how do you expect the 2026 season to be?
Man, it's gotten to the point where I don't really have expectations anymore. But I mean, to be honest, I'm pretty excited about the Golish hire. I think we've just not had very good personalities in the head coaching role lately. Going back several coaches. I'm kind of expecting 8 wins.
Okay.
Maybe that's a little optimistic. I don't know. But I do put a lot of weight in he's bringing a quarterback with him that he has coached before. It's not a new quarterback. You know, a coach bringing a quarterback with him, that's a pretty big deal in my eyes.
No, I'm with you, Blake. Appreciate you calling in, and that's kind of how I feel about it too. It's hard not to feel some level of optimism for no matter who you really root for in the SEC, because you look at, again, we brought up Mississippi State last segment, and we look at some of the games that they did win. So like I believe in this. Like once you've presented something, that becomes like the norm. I guess you would say, like that kind of gives you, because it shows that you can do it. It gives you that sense of, hey, I've already done this. The hardest part is being able to replicate it week at week. And we're all human. I get it. And that it's the toughest part. But it's hard for me in my gut not to say that, man, Mississippi State is going to be improved. Like it's just hard not to believe it because of some of the close things that they had. And again, I know Auburn fans are tired of hearing, you know, we're so close. But in all honesty, you were. Like it's hard because it's an absolute fact. Now, the end all be all wins losses. That's all it comes down to. But it's hard not to say, man, we were right there. And now to Blake's point, year to year, it's just going to look different because now you can scrub out everything that Hugh Freeze did. Because now this is an Alex Golish era. Now, there's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. It's moving forward. It's either you're hopping on or you're not.
Do you think that's better for college football? If there's seemingly no, I don't want to say constantly elite team, but that you just don't know what you're going to get from your team. And I think it may be a little tough asking people around here because half of the state is used to having that elite team all the time. And so they're experiencing this newness along with most of the rest of college football, and that we just quite don't know what to expect from our team, and we're usually expecting greatness. And I think that's part of the reason why DeBoer is under fire from a certain sect of the fan base. But as someone, like I'm a neutral party. Damian is in essence a neutral party because he cheers for everyone. I think I kind of enjoy this because you just don't know what you're going to get. I mean, yeah, you can sit here and think that, yeah, Alabama probably should be good. Notre Dame should be great. Ohio State probably be elite. Mississippi State should be improved. Auburn should look better than they have in years past. But it's also not going to surprise you if Mississippi State either goes 9-3 or 3-9.
Yeah.
It's not going to surprise you if Auburn goes 7-5 or 3-9 or maybe even 10-2. Like, it's not going to surprise you because of the volatile nature of the roster turnover. So we're starting to get used to this, but I guess I asked, like, do you think this is better? This may not be what we want, but this is what we've got.
Mm-hmm.
So is college football better because we know that we don't know what we're going to get?
I think it does. I think it is for the betterment. Now, the process in which we've gotten, because what was the biggest thing that people had their gripes about, you know, early on in the 14 college football playoff? It's we have no parity in college football anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
we definitely got it.
Yes.
We definitely got it now. It's just it may not be the way that we wanted it to get to this point, but we're getting it. It's an absolute fact because, again, I was under the impression that Indiana was a one-trick pony. In 2024, they're not going back to the college football playoff. And what they do this past season, run the table, look the best, and there was no denying they were the best team in college football. But I think that when we see the likes of, you know, like the likes of Oklahoma being in the college football playoff, because I don't think a lot of people had them in the college football playoff discussion going into 2024. At least I didn't. We saw Texas drop off the year prior, making to the college football playoff. I think year to year, honestly, Ole Miss being one of the final four teams playing for a chance to play in the national championship game. I think anybody outside of Oxford, Mississippi, and even people in Oxford, Mississippi, did not expect that.
Heck, Miami making the national championship game.
Yeah, without playing the ACC championship.
Yes,
like,
right. Yeah.
We had Duke and Virginia in the ACC championship game, and neither one of those teams were in the college football playoff. So I think the parity that we're getting is what we wanted. The process in which we got there, maybe not so much. But we'll put the bow on everything when we return here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Keep it locked here on Jocks. $9:52 here on McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate AJ Schultz, Joe Lenardi, and also Dean Blandino hopping on the show today. All those three interviews podcasted at jocksfm.com, Jocks mobile app, wherever you get your podcast. Also, all 3 hours of the show there as well. Flu season is here. Make your home healthier with Train's Clean Effect Home Air Cleaner. It removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. Is 100 times more effective than standard air filters and 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at train.com. JD for Birmingham text in, as you can as well, 205-834-9450. He texts in, what's going to be more important in the SEC, I guess moving forward, quarterback play or defensive play. To be honest, I would say defensive play. I still think defense wins championships because your quarterback, like my main example for this is Oklahoma. Because in spite of John Mateer coming back and still not being what we saw the first month of John Mateer, Oklahoma's defense they were able to hang their hat on the defensive side of the ball of we're going to give this offensive side of the ball 13 points to play with. We will play top-notch defensively and keep us in ball games. Offense, can you do something? And also Auburn. Auburn is a great example of that as well, where all the issues really kind of predicated on the offensive side of the ball. Defense was doing everything they possibly could to keep you in games consistently. It's just your offense didn't come up to play. So I guess I would still lean more defensive side of the ball because you still have to find ways to stop and neutralize a lot of these explosive offenses in this day and age. Because, again, I will keep harping on this because it bothers me to my soul. Auburn lost a football game in 2025 10-3. That's unheard of nowadays. You hold a team to 10 points, you got to feel like, okay, like we are cooking.
I do think it is defensive play because you can have a fantastic quarterback, someone like a Taylor Green, and even if he's playing out of his mind, if defense ain't stopping nobody, a fat lot of good it's going to do. Plus, Lane Kiffin has kind of shown us that you can have and bring in an elite and a great QB, but if he goes down, you still kind of need someone to be in there. And Lane's kind of philosophy is, I can do it with anyone. So let's focus on skill players, maybe everyone else. And so I can get whoever I want at QB. And if not, I'll make do.
Yeah. I just.
Which is weird because it feels like the exact opposite in the NFL.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Because you know who's a great example of that? The Tennessee Titans. Rush defense in 2025, we were second in the league.
Got a lot of good that did.
Yeah, exactly. Like
you had to watch your coach go and be in the Super Bowl too.
Like, hey, we had a rookie quarterback, but man, there's no better example. And also the Houston Texans. Think about they had the number one defense in the league last season. And CJ Stroud, that playoff run was one to forget. Like, oh yeah, the last few turnovers we had against the Pittsburgh Steelers, it's all good. He ain't gonna follow that up with a potential 4 turnover game in the first half. Oh yeah, he did. Followed that up right into the New England Patriots. So, oh man, great show. Appreciate everybody hopping on with us. 3-man front coming up at the top of the hour. Again, thanks Dean Blandino, AJ Schultz, and Joe Lenardi all hopping on to discuss a bevy of topics. Cole back in tomorrow. Also, the coach, Wimp Sanderson, and his weekly visit with us on Thursday. But like I said, 3-man front coming up at 10 o'clock here at the top of the hour. Appreciate y'all. Y'all keep it locked here on Jocks.